Welcome back to the Crochet Creatos, my friends at yarnspirations.com. This is the Diamond Delight Crochet Granny Blanket. This is more than what it seems, and this is flawless. This is fabulous. It just makes my heart go pitter patter if I had one. Now, it's a 8mm size L crochet hook using Bernat blanket yarn, and so I went to go do a testing trial for this, and mine was not looking so hot. And so what I don't understand about these instructions, I had to reach out to Yarn Inspirations before I could film this so that I could get some clarification. The back side, or the wrong side of the blanket, has the yarn being carried across. And so when you see it on this side, it looks here. So you're going to want to make sure, you see how it's a loop here? You got to make sure that it's relatively taut when you're going across so you don't end up with all these loops. And so it's important for us to show you that just in case that's happening to you. So the carried yarn is actually happening, but it's happening on the back of it, which is making the front of this thing look seamless and flawless. So it's still a great idea and it's still fun. And this is called the diamond concept for granny squares, and so we're going to be able to work on this and we'll show you how this is done, and it's a relatively easy repeating pattern as well. Page number 2 has a stitching diagram, and you're going to see the repeat is through 1, so we have a setup row first, and then we have 1 through 4, which is going to be a repeat. So you got 3 rows that have the coloring, 1 row with no coloring at all other than just the solid color that you would like to choose, and then we're back on it again. So if you would like to change the size of this, they're sharing with us that it's multiples of 6 plus 4. So you just chain 6, 6, 6, and when you're happy with the length of the chain, just add 4 more. So if you did want to substitute and did not want to use Bernat Blanket, you could use a Red Heart Super Saver, Bernat Super Value. You can still use those multiples and still have a good time, and the concept is still the same of carrying the yarn. So we need to always carry the yarn on the back side of the project at all times, even when we're turning back and forth, always on the back side. And so we'll have to mark that on row number 1 when we get there. So without further ado, let's begin. So you can either chain 124, which matches the sample, or chain in multiples of 6, then plus 4 at the end. I'm using Bernat Blanket Sparkle yarn today with my 8mm size L crochet hook. I am just going to do a swatch with you on camera, so either do 124 or the multiples. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Is it big enough? Yes or no? If not, add another 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Big enough? Yes or no? If not, keep on going. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And let's just say I'm happy with the width of this thing. I'm just going to add 4 more, and that will bring my whole project in balance. Okay, so we have multiples of 6 plus 4, or 124. We're going to carry this color as we begin the first setup row next. To begin the setup row, and because it's chunky yarn, I always, if you follow me, always use the back hump of a chain. But in this case, because it's Bernat Blanket yarn, you don't want to use that back loop. So you're going to go, the total one here, it's the 5th chain from the hook. So you're going to count back 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 right here. And you were just going to yarn over, and you were going to double crochet in there. And in the same one again, put 2 more double crochets in exactly the same spot. Perfect. Now we're going to skip 2 chains, so 1 and 2 skipping, and you're going to go to the 3rd and put 3 double crochets into the 3rd one away. So we have 1, 2, and 3. And notice that I did not chain 1 after I'm putting any groups of these double crochets in. So I want it relatively tight so we can hide that yarn. So to continue along, skip the next 2, go to the 3rd, and place in 3 double crochet. And I need you to do this until you get close to the other side, and I'll pick you up there in just a moment. So just put me on pause, get most of the way across, and I'll pick you right up at the end to make sure you're doing it properly. I'm getting close to the end, and I should be at the 3rd last stitch, which I am. So I have just 2 left, And so I'm just going to double crochet into the last one. If you have an extra stitch, just undo the slip knot, just one stitch out if it's extra in your case, but it's always an easy way just to be able to fudge it. So you've got your setup row done, but before you continue, just grab a crochet hook and a spare piece of yarn, and I want you just to loop it around one of the posts that you have. And this is going to indicate to you when you're looking at the right side, but it's going to be very obvious anyway, but it's always a good technique to do. So whenever you see the tail hanging out, that's the right side, and if you turn it around, you don't see it, and this is the wrong side. So we are going to turn our work, and we're going to continue this color to the first official row. Let's get ready for row number 1. The right side is facing away from us, therefore what we're looking at is the wrong side, so any of the carried strands need to stay on this side of the work. You're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. And in the space between the double crochet and the grouping of 3, you are going to apply 1 double crochet. But what you need to watch for is that the final pull through of the 2 loops has to be the new color. So just loop it. You'll use a tapestry needle to hide that in later, and just loop it to pull it through. So whenever there's a loop on a hook, the loop on the hook is always the top of the next stitch. So if this was yellow, the top of the next stitch, even though it will be this new color, the top of the stitch would be yellow, therefore it looks out of sync. Pull this one out of the way, which is the yellow. Pull the strand that is making up that loop out of the way, and you are simply just going to go into the next space with this new color. And you're going to place in 3 double crochet, but the final pull through of the last one has to be back to yellow, has to be back to the opposite color. So the final pull through, so you're going to just carry this yarn up and just cross it over and pull through to finish. Noticing how I used my thumb, I just realized it now, is that I just use my thumb just to kind of pinch on it. So when I pull it, I don't accidentally just pull it and it just compresses like that. So I'm doing a somewhat of a control through my experience by just pinching it down and pulling it through, very much like I would if it was Tunisian. So then you'll put this yarn in front of your work because we're on the wrong side of the project, and you're going to go into the next space and you're going to use the yellow. And so the final pull through on the 3rd one is going to be the opposite color. So drop it in front, pick this one back up, pinch, and pull through. Okay, pull this in front so it's out of the way, and then do the next 3 of this color, with the last pull through being the opposite color. And you're going to do this all the way across. So pull it in front. So normally when we change colors, when we're doing this kind of concept, we always toss the leftover yarn into the back, but in this case for this sample, we always have to favor the wrong side, which is the side that we're looking at right now. So you'll continue all the way across in the same motion. And it's going to become obvious, like if you haven't already told, this is the wrong side of the work, because you won't see these carrying through items over on the other side, because the other side will look flawless. So you're going to go all the way to the edge. If you're not there yet and you need help, just put me on pause, because I'm going to show you how to finish this in a second. So for those that are still ready to keep on going, just lay this last color here. So we're just going to go right into the space only, and you can take this one with you and trap it into position underneath, because on the final pull through we need to change ourselves to this new color. So if you leave it back here, it's going to be impossible to do like that. And so this color of the yellow is technically done, so you'll just trim that now, and you will use a tapestry needle to hide that in later. And then you're ready for row number 2. So on this side, it's looking really actually quite good, and it's supposed to, and we're only going to use this color then for row number 2. In row number 2, you're going to chain up 3, which will count as your first double crochet, And you're going to come into this space right here. You want to know a tip? See this one that we dragged in? If you pull that up, you can hide that inside of that space. So we're going to do 3 double crochet in each one of the spaces. There is a border, so this one that we carried up will get stuck inside the border. So then you just jump to the next spaces. You're not going to have to worry about carrying much of anything, but what I would recommend is, see how this one's carrying over? Just pull it up with it. And so when you crochet, you're crocheting not only in the space, but you're trapping that one that you carried as well inside that stitch, and it won't be visible on this side. So 1, 2, and 3, and then jump to the next space. So because you've been carrying the yarn, you're always going to see it, so just pinch it with that space and it will trap it inside. So even though when you're going across on the back here, it will look like sin, you're actually making it less sinful by covering up over top of it as you're going, if that's even a thing. So you're just going to work your way across with just 3 double crochet in each one of these spaces. And we need to bring back that yellow one at the end of this row. I was really struggling with this pattern because I just didn't understand where all the carrying yarn goes. And now I do actually get it. So we're going to come into your final space. So it'll be 3 double crochet there. So 1, 2, and 3. And we still have 1 more double crochet left. But what we're going to do is at the end of this row, when we put in our double crochet into the final double crochet, the final pull through needs to be this yellow color once again. So we're just going to loop it through. Pull through, turn your work, and we need to keep both of these colors still active because in the next row we're still going to create the diamond shape. So row number 3 is the same as number 1, so you're going to chain 3 and double crochet into the space, and on the last final pull through you are going to change it to the other color that's currently still sitting in motion. It's still sitting in play. So you will continue then across, and so the next space will be this new color, okay, and you are just going to crochet the 3. So we're looking at the wrong side of the work, so we're carrying the yarn on this side. The final pull through, we have to drop it, and we have to pick this guy up and pull him in, pinch and pull. Leave this in the front and double crochet in the next. Okay, pick it up and pull, drop in front. So we don't want to interfere with these ones that are being carried. And we just keep doing this all the way across. So the final pull through has to be the other color. We pick it up and bring the other color in front out of the way. And when I say in front, I mean in front of what you're looking at. It's not meaning the front of the right side of the work, if that makes any sense. Okay, drag it up. And you keep going all the way to the end. Let this fall out of the way. And right where this space here, you're going to place in 2 double crochet. So the next row, number 4, is just going to be a solid color. So this color is technically done. So I'm going to trim it. We'll use a tapestry needle later to hide that in. And we're just going to continue along, and we're going to be back to the main color. In my case, it was yellow. So row number 4 is the same as number 2. So 1, 2, 3. So chain 3 equals a double crochet, and in the first space you are going to apply 3 double crochet. So when you're jumping the spaces, those ones that you're carrying, see the yellow here, you can just sandwich it together with the spacing itself and trap it inside the stitch. And so you're placing 3 double crochet in each one of those spaces. Okay, so if you want to lean it forward, you can see it. Okay, so when you grab the space, grab it all. And that'll help secure in that yarn that's being carried. Hopefully this is making sense. Okay, so come on over. So you're going to get used to that. You don't have to turn it around to look at it. You'll be able to, your fingers will actually be able to feel the spacing, which will capture that carried yarn naturally on its own, so that on this side you don't ever see that. Okay, and then you're coming to your last space here, so that'll be 3 double crochet. And then it's 1 double crochet into the last double crochet. Okay, so there is one sequence here. So we had a setup row. We had 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is going to be your repeating, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through rows 1 through 4 one more time. So let's begin row number 1 again. So turn it. See, now you can clearly see this is the wrong side of the work. And this is what that sample looked like. So we're going to start, and you're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and in the space between the double crochet and the chain 3, or sorry, in the grouping of 3, you'll do a double crochet, but the final pull through will be the other color that you want to play with. So you'll see the color sequence that's available in the coloring if you love it, because I love it myself, but I can just demonstrate today with just 2 colors. So just put the yarn strand in front of you and take the other yarn that we're just going to hold, and you're going to jump to the next space and put in 3 double crochet. And remember the last pull through of the final one, we drop it, leave it in front, pick this one up, pinch, and pull through. Put this out of the way, and then 3 double crochet in the next. So every other grouping is the opposite color, which is easy to remember. In front, pick up, pinch, and pull. You know what, I had a bit of a learning curve with this, but now that I get it, I think I can whip through one of these pretty quickly. And the carried yarn to me is not a big deal. I thought it would be, but it's not. Okay, drop, pick up, pinch, pull. And so you're going to go right to the edge. Okay. And so the last 2, so I'm going to carry this right to the edge, right underneath the stitch. And I'm going to place in my 2 double crochet, but on the final one, I am going to pull through the other color. Okay. And so now this yellow is currently done. So I'm going to trim it, hide it later, and carry on with the secondary color, which will be then the same color going all the way across, which will be this. So row number 2, chain up 3 counts as your first double crochet, and you can pick this one up that you carried, see right there, pick it up and put it inside. So 3 double crochet right into the first space that you'll run into. come into each one of the spaces and capturing that one that's carried up. Hopefully you got a bit of practice now by now. And sandwich that together with that space. So you see very clean on this side of the work, which is what we're looking at when you see the sample, which made me question like how it's possible when I didn't realize that the yarn is being kind of carried up on the underside like this. I think it would have been a great thing just to see the reverse on that, on the pattern. But you're here on tutorial, so you've been able to see the behind the scenes photograph that was given to me. So you're going to come all the way across right to the last space. Okay, and then you're going to double crochet in the final, but in the final pull through the two, you need to make sure that you change it back to yellow or whatever color you're using. So before you do that, you're going to grab the yellow that's coming from the yarn ball, loop it around, and pull it through. And that was row number 2 once again. So turn your work, and row number 3 is the same as number 1. Leave the stragglers out in front of the work, and you're going to use the yellow to start, and you will chain 3 and double crochet into the space between the double crochet and the grouping of 3. And the final pull through will be the other colors. Put this in front, bring that color up, and in the next space, put 3 double crochet of just this color. Okay, and the final pull through, drop it, drag, pinch, and pull through, pull that in front, and 3 double crochet next. So is anybody surprised that this is actually easy? I am actually. I know tutorial hosts say, oh, this is so easy, this is so easy. This was not so easy for me. So I don't like to lie in the videos because you guys will catch me. Okay, dragging it up. I actually like that you can carry it in front like that. It just makes my life so much easier. Okay, we're heading to the very last section shortly. And so in the last pull through here, it's going to be yellow. Okay, and you're going to just let this color fall out of the way. And in the last space there will be two double crochet. And because we're going into number 4, this is the main color. So we're just going to just let that hold. And then we're going to get rid of this color here, get this out. Turn, and then row number 4 is just using this other color. So I like that it's giving us options, because if the yarn is getting tangled in any way, it just is harder. So we're going to chain 3, counts as your first double crochet, and just like you had been before, go right into your first space, put in 3 double crochet, go right up over top of that straggler, and we'll cover that in a second, what I would do with those. And you'll put 3 double crochet into each of those, and my fingers can actually feel the yarn that's being carried over to get it stuck up underneath it. So I find I don't need to turn it around to see, but maybe if you have to, it's okay. So actually you can leave me a comment. Do you need to flip it? Or maybe you were flipping it and you got used to it? Or is that something that comes natural to you? So this is called the Diamond Granny Stitch. So there are different approaches for this, but with the thick yarn, this is the best approach. So what I'll do next is that on the end of number 4 here, you're going right to the space, 3 double crochet, and then you'll come right into the last one, double crochet. And then when you start row number 1, you can reverse the video back, as we have video chapters to be able to do that. And therefore you can see that you're having these suspended diamonds that are in the pattern, and the opposite side looks just like this. So it still looks nice and clean, no matter what side you're looking at. So what I'm going to do now is let's cover in what I would do with those tail ends, because that's important. And then we'll cover on how to do the border next as well. So you're gonna have these tail ends that are left, and I would do them as you go so you don't end up with a million of these at the end. And just stay within the same color. So don't start weaving it through the opposite color, and just kind of weasel your way through the loops. This stuff knots onto itself really quite easily. So we're just gonna go up through the outside here. And when I pull it first time, don't pull it to the point where it changes the shape. And now I'm gonna go back down through a different section, coming down. Okay. And if you just want to create a little knot onto itself, like that, and then just drag the yarn through. One more time. So we already know there's a knot now in position, and just drag it back. So I've kind of dragged it back and forth 3 times, created a knot, and then I dragged it through twice. And therefore you will never have this thing falling out on you. Okay. And because you carried the yarn, you're gonna have that. So all those loose ends that you'll have, you'll wanna take care of those in the same way. This case here, I would weave it up through here on the back side. So don't interfere with the good side of the work by turning it around and start to go and do stupid things on the front side to wreck the look of the diamond shape that you have. So we're going to create the border next, and I will be right back in a moment. Once you're ready with your border, we are going to just go into a corner. So the corners on this particular blanket are going to be 1 single crochet, chain 1, 1 single crochet. So just come on up, follow it up, and it could be any quarter that you wish, and join it in, chain 1, and then just 1 single crochet, chain 1, and 1 single crochet. So now you're just going to equally space out single crochets all the way across. So on the tops and the bottoms of the blanket, it's going to be nice and easy. You'll be able to see the stitches. But then what I want you to do is look at the distance of the tops of the stitches from each other. I'm going to toss the yarn in behind the leftover, and use that as your guide to be able to go down the sides. So there's never a number provided when they say equally spaced, because that's what you're looking for. Is just look at the distance of how far these things travel to be able to do it. As an experienced crocheter, I can do it pretty easily. Yourself, you might not have so much a good time. You can leave me a comment to that. Now, there's a trick to be able to equally space. If you were too fast about it, you will cause the project to buckle into itself, so it will not sit flat. And then if you're too slow about it, you're going to end up with a ruffle. So in the corner, so if you have all the ends woven in, single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet. So when you go down the side, always use the actual stitch work itself. If you use a space, then it pulls it out. So look at the distance of the tops and just equally space that going down the side. And go right into some stitch work. Try to avoid going into those spaces so that you don't end up with a really ugly gap. And so you're going to use the tops distance and make it similar to this one. So if you're going too fast, you're going to cause it to fold into itself. And if you're going too slow, you're going to cause it to ruffle and not sit flat. Any of those loose ends that we carried up on the edge, we are going to be able to trap it into. Any of those ones that we carried up on the top of the sides, just go right up over top of them, and we'll trap those inside the stitch and out of the way. Okay, so remember there was ones that I had you carry up. Those ones are the ones that you're going to want to get stuck into that. So you're just going to single crochet, equally spacing all the way down. Okay, So you see it's sitting flat. So when you get to the corner, 1 single crochet, chain 1, 1 single crochet, and then just go along the base. You'll notice that on the base, it was 1. We used 1 stitch for this group, and then there was 2 there. So you'll have 1 here and 2 into the space. And then you'll continue that all the way around. And so then you'll end up with a nice flat border, just like you see here on camera.